Gran Turismo 5 as we know it today wasn't even intended to be a full sequel, rather a Gran Turismo 4 remaster for the PlayStation 3 with more cars on the track and PC rendered footage, scheduled as a launch title. But after numerous delays they decided to come up with a completely new game. Finally, in 2008, Gran Turismo 5 Prologue was released with 34 cars and 6 tracks. New additions to the series included drift mode and online racing to demonstrate the steps taken to enhance the gameplay. Clearly, fans were excited because it sold over 5 million copies, which at the time was the best-selling exclusive on the PlayStation 3, and it was only a prototype. Like I said in my Gran Turismo 1 review, the game designers don't meet deadlines, so it's no wonder it took half a decade to develop. What I also recall is how exhausting it was reading constantly that it was going to be delayed, believing it would never be released. If you thought Grand Theft Auto 5 felt like a lifetime, at least that took only 2 years after their announcement. I always found this intro pretty unique. It illustrates each step on how a car is built, and for some reason it makes me think about how much I love cars. I don't know why. Firstly, it begs you to be online. Between when you boot up the game and selecting Gran Turismo mode, it asks you to sign on to the PlayStation Network 3 times. No means no! I get it, you want a Gran Turismo 4 to be online but couldn't do it and it finally makes it onto this one, but I don't care! And even if I did, it wouldn't matter anyway because the online server shut down in 2014. If you've installed the latest update, all online features are taken off completely, which to be honest is another reason being online orientated is a bad idea, because now you can only play about 80% of the game as opposed to 100%, but I guess at the time and now, this game got really cheap anyway. When it comes to cars, they definitely put quantity over quality in that regard, because yes, there are over 1,000 cars in Gran Turismo 5 as illustrated on the back cover, but the developers only put effort into about 200 of them and they had the nerve to label the cars depending on their efforts, aka premium or standard. Standard cars are basically upscale versions of the PS2 and PSP models with less detail and no interior view. That is pathetic, and one of the main reasons why the graphics are so underwhelming. It better not happen in the next sequel. Oh, wait, it did. Well, it better not happen in Gran Turismo 7. If I see PS2 and PSP car models in a PS4 game, I'm not buying another Gran Turismo game ever again. The premium models, on the other hand, do look gorgeous. Being inside the car blew my mind the first time playing this. And like the first game, you'll be drooling in excitement once you finally obtain a really expensive one, like this Ferrari F1. Wait, Ferrari? Yep, supercar names like Ferrari and Lamborghini finally make it to Gran Turismo along with an array of others like Toyota, Nissan, Ford, Aston Martin, and Mercedes-Benz to name a few. A lot of the classics including Grand Valley Speedway, Trial Mountain, High Speed Ring, Deep Forest Raceway, and Autumn Ring return in HD glory. And look even more as if these fictional tracks existed in real life, i.e. safety regulations and how circuits look clean and modern. Trial Mountain has more barriers than rocky walls next to the track, for example. Also new to the series is being able to change the time and conditions, but for some reason I couldn't work out how to configure it. My favorite fictional circuit that makes its debut is Cape Ring, a massive track that has every single corner type possible, but the classics will always steal the show. Of course, you have the real-life circuits including the returns of Laguna Seca, Suzuka Circuit, Fuji Speedway, Nürburgring, Le Mans 24-hour Circuit, and new ones including Monza, Daytona Speedway, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Even the Top Gear test track makes an appearance. Now this was when Top Gear were at the peak of their popularity, and as a fan of the show, not anymore. It was so cool driving on the test track. I wanted to know if I can beat the lap times the Stig set with certain cars. What I don't get, however, is there are only 3 rally circuits. Yes, they're so big they're able to design shorter versions too, but 3? The predecessors, even Gran Turismo 2 had more than that. Was redesigning Swiss Alps, Tahiti Maze, and Smoky Mountain too much to ask for? If you feel annoyed by that, at least you can make up your own instead. Yes, for the first time in the series, you can create your own circuit. It sucks, to be honest. You'd think it'd be easier to have a variety of individual track pieces like in Trackmania for example, but nope. I just want to make a track with lots of twists, turns and slopes, kind of like the Alpine circuit on Millbrook Proving Ground, but I'm stumped. Once you actually test the track you've made, it looks good, I just don't have that much creative control. This feels weird. Special Stage Route 5. Look at this, it's like a bad dream, like I'm the only person in the city. That is the thing with the overall graphics. It looks really sharp and detailed in 1080p 60 frames per second. The lighting effects shine like a diamond. There are more cars on the track, and when you take a photo of a Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren in mid-air, it's highlight material. But outside the track looks absolutely lifeless. The spectators look like they were photoshopped, there's no animation like flags waving, trees blowing, and some of the tracks Polyphony made using the track editor set during night. I mean, look at this. This is actually a GT mode event, and it's virtually unplayable. I never thought I'd be saying this about Gran Turismo, but for a game that took half a decade to develop, this feels incredibly rushed. What did I say about the game designers, that they don't meet deadlines? Now I'm not so sure. It's not the worst looking game on the PlayStation 3, in fact, take away expectations, it looks stunning if you compare it to every other game that came out in the 7th generation. I just look at this and think, Polyphony Digital are capable of much better than this. They should know more about the PlayStation 3's technical specifications than any other developer, and should be willing to push the limits the same way they did with older systems. From what I know, the size of Gran Turismo 5 is around 20 gigabytes, which is less than half the size Uncharted 3 was, and that came out only a year later. So knowing that immediately makes you think they didn't push what was technically possible on the system. I believe there would have been enough space left to at least make every single car premium. Maybe I just forgot it's not a PlayStation 4 game, or maybe I put gameplay ahead of graphics. I'm just not super impressed with this. In arcade mode, it goes back to the Gran Turismo 2 and 4 model where the only way to unlock new tracks is through Gran Turismo mode. And if you want to use something different from what's given, only the garage can provide that. But at least you get immediate access to race cars. Like the Prologue, there's a drift mode where you get points based on car angle, speed, and how close you are to the racing line. The Top Gear test track and a rear-wheel drive like a Mazda RX-7 is probably the most suitable circuit and car to get started. I found it frustrating at first, but after a few laps I got the hang of it. Aside from that, you have single race, time trial, and split-screen multiplayer. Thank God it's still in Gran Turismo 5. There aren't as many license tests as Gran Turismo 4, but 60? Cheers, Polyphony. My feelings about the license tests in the predecessors are pretty much the same in this. 3 of these are just going in a straight line and braking. I mean, enough of that! This is literally what it feels like to be back in school! Because Gran Turismo 5 had a heavier emphasis on online racing, there aren't as many events as its predecessor with just over 60 events in comparison to the 177 in GT4, which I find pretty worrying. If you like online races, that's fine. But the core of the game, I mean, why do you think so many people, including myself, think the first 3 games in the series are considered the best? But like I said before, the servers are shut down anyway. If you're not impressed, finding a copy of one of the predecessors isn't exactly hard. That being said, it still has plenty of the A-Spec and B-Spec events Novice to Endurance, which provide an enormous amount of gameplay time even if the event count has taken a step back. When you win a race, you earn credits, and completing a series wins you a prize car. I sell most of the standard ones because no interior view. Oh, and side note, you can't win a prize car more than once, so be careful what you sell. Driving missions I assume are replaced with special events, which are basically fancier license tests with prize money, go-karts, and rally events added to the mix. The Italian Grand Tour is pretty cool though. You also get appearances from real-life drivers including Sebastian Loeb, Sebastian Vettel, and Jeff Gordon, as Polyphony were able to obtain licenses from NASCAR, Super GT, and World Rally Championship.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gordon, professional NASCAR driver. I'm here to teach you driving techniques that are very special to NASCAR racing.
Whoa, for a racing series that takes pride in the graphics department, Jeff Gordon looks and moves pretty ugly. Maybe it would have been better if Polyphony called up Naughty Dog to work on cutscenes like these. I don't see why they couldn't have. I have mixed feelings about the rally events. They've replaced the one-on-one with small chunks of stages and co-drivers just like a real-life rally race, which is good, and boy they're challenging. However, is this it? Remember how many rally events the predecessors had? Having only 3 full rally tracks takes its toll on this one. Also, it would have been nice to include one-on-one races as well. I haven't been able to find a get-rich-quick scheme, but you probably don't need one anyway because of the new ranking system. Whenever you win a race or pass a license test, your ranking goes up and different levels give you access to more challenging events and the right to purchase faster cars. If you retry an event, you can win the same amount of prize money, but your ranking will only rise up so little you probably can't even tell. At least it means you don't have to do the license test. I hate these so much. Retrying the same event over and over to me is the better option, because you have millions to spend once you do reach the level you want. Only if you're trying to reach 100% completion on the license test mandatory. The reality is that you'll have to do them eventually. Each car has a different look, sound and feel to them, plus you can always make them go faster at the chop shop. I'm using a standard controller for this review, but I strongly recommend a racing wheel for any Gran Turismo title, to be honest. What's wrong with my car? Wait, does this game have car damage? Well, sort of. I mean, does this look like car damage to you? It doesn't affect the performance that much, and you can still ram into a barrier at over 200 kilometers without hurting it, but it's a start. They finally made a start. Now what have they done with the AI? There's no rubber banding, which is perfectly fine, but let's make them recognize me on the track. Oh, wait a minute. They recognize me. Definitely an improvement over Gran Turismo 4. It can still be better though. Some of these drivers can be a pile of cheap bastards. But then again, what makes me any better? Aha! The driving controls improved from GT4. Again, the understeer, sometimes even the oversteer can be a little frustrating, but I guess the feeling of being in a car, using the interior view with the racing wheel is quite an experience. Every time I slide off, I don't even get angry. In fact, I laugh a little bit, because learning to drive a fast car with the steering wheel and the track to myself is a lot more fun than the license test. It almost outweighs all the negatives. I bet hardly anyone realizes it, but Gran Turismo 5 is the best-selling PlayStation 3 exclusive, with nearly 12 million copies. That's more than God of War 3, The Last of Us, Metal Gear Solid, or any of the Uncharted titles. Yet of all the games I just mentioned, GT5 is talked about the least. Honestly, I've been pretty harsh in this review because it's a good racing game. Sure, there's less to do and the soundtrack doesn't get me as motivated as the predecessors, but there are more cars and tracks, and even the controls are better than GT4, especially when using a racing wheel. You're still in a career mode collecting as many set cars as possible, racing like a lunatic, and exploring what each set track has to offer. I don't know, I just find the simplicity of these games more appealing and nostalgic, and this is exactly how I felt about the 4th game. If you're a fan of the series, you'll like Gran Turismo 5, but maybe not as much as the predecessors.